is a strategic communication advisor. Also, we do have with us Dr. Isaac Alua Green, who is the party leader of Green Thinking Action Party, that is GTAP. We have also with us Ambrose Weda, who is an advocate of the High Court, and also Professor Gitele Naituli, who is a professor at the Multimedia University, teaching leadership and management. We're navel gazing now on what is on the front page of the People Daily this morning. Remember, Monday is a pivotal day where we shall be seeing the vetting of the CSs. But one ticklish issue that is coming to the fore right now is regarding this particular new position that we've seen has been created of the prime CS job. And there is a storm over it on the front page of the People Daily. Trouble ahead of vetting, as the new minority leader says. ANC Supremo should not be interviewed, as the seat Ruto promised him is not in constitution. Wetangula to rule on the dispute on Monday, and the two faces there are the ones who are going to be sparring over this in Parliament. Wakili, you're really shuffling that particular paper. Yes, indeed. So this is I wanted to pose this particular on the table so that we can begin with it. Barack, so far, many will argue that, yes, the president has the executive fiat to make sure that this is there. There's a contention right now with the cabinet administrative secretaries, despite the fact we saw also some of the vacancies being advertised as it is. So, will also this position be challenged, or where do we stand?
I don't know about cabinet administrative secretaries, but I think I'm quite clear about the cabinet, which is found at Article 152.1, 152.2.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. Article 152.2. Yes, I can see.
You need the constitution, I think.
I can see you have the Katiba.
Yeah, let me give you the Katiba.
As
I give others.
It's a moving dictionary.
It's a moving constitution.
152.2.
Yeah.
There you are.
Yes. What does 152.2 say? As a journalist, I must have these facts on my fingertips, and therefore I'll tell you what it's saying, because
152 says that, flipping over there, it says, the cabinet consists of the president, the deputy president, the attorney general, and not fewer than 14 and not more than 22 cabinet secretaries. The president shall nominate and, with approval of the National Assembly, appoint cabinet secretaries. A cabinet secretary shall not be a member of parliament.
Yeah, let's just pause there. First, I'm seeing people who were the other day saying that they were going to appoint Kalonzo Musyoka to be chief cabinet secretary. It is not mentioned anywhere in this constitution. Okay? Much the same way prime cabinet secretary is not specifically named in this constitution. But when I look at the constitution, I cannot also see where they have said there will be cabinet secretary for education, or for agriculture, or for environment, or for anything else. They have said that there will be the president, there will be the attorney general, and not fewer than 14 and not more than 22 cabinet secretaries. So when we say that this one has not been mentioned in the constitution, I don't know which ones have been mentioned. Article 152.2 says that the president shall nominate. To nominate is to name, is to make a formal proposal for consideration for appointment. And so if the president, in his wide-ranging wisdom, considers that he needs a prime cabinet secretary, then he's within his rights to appoint such a prime cabinet secretary. Prime here means first among equals. Primus inter pares, yes, as they say in the Catholic faith. Primus inter pares, the first among equals, to whom are allocated more responsibilities that watch over the cabinet activities from a helicopter view. So I don't understand what this is, especially coming from people who just the other day proposed the same thing. These are the sort of things that make the country find it difficult to move.
Now you agree.
But the question, just a moment, the question then becomes, if this is first among the equals, we do not disagree, yeah, he is a cabinet secretary. Does it come with the requisite perks of a prime minister that is going to be more of a burden to the taxpayer, that we have a prime cabinet secretary who is first among the equals? Therefore, the weight of this particular office goes also with the requisite resources than other cabinet secretaries, which is not really enshrined in the Constitution. So if you're talking about these cabinet secretaries and we know this is your salary scales.
Which salary scale, Ainea, has been enshrined in the Constitution? Whose salary has been written in this Constitution?
No, so do you want to tell me the cabinet secretary the cabinet secretary of defense earns more than the cabinet secretary of agriculture? Or I am not privy to that, but that's the question I'm asking, because I know maybe they are on the same grade as cabinet secretaries.
I think that's a point of detail, and which could be debated.
This is why it is questionable when you have this position and you're just saying it is just a name. It is just prime minister.
I didn't say it is just a name. I said it is a primus inter pares. If you go to Rome, you will find the Pontifex Maximus.
That's what I'm saying.
Who is the Pope, and the Pope is a cardinal.
Those Latins, they'll go way over my head, but the question is very basic.
They should
The question is, that particular position, why should be different from any other CS first among the equals? That was not really enshrined in the Constitution. They should have a cabinet secretary first among the equals.
The president is empowered to nominate. What is to nominate? To nominate is to name, is to propose. And he has not been told that he will nominate a cabinet secretary for defense, for example, or that he will nominate a cabinet secretary. That is why you have not seen him.
The Constitution, Barak, is very clear. Appoint cabinet secretaries.
Nominate. Don't really.
No. And okay. The president shall nominate and with the approval
of parliament.
Yes. Of the national, appoint the cabinet.
So
secretary.
He has nominated
cabinet secretary.
Yes, he has, and this is one of them. And the nomination is incomplete without him saying that this is the portfolio.
Dubao, I think we are splitting hairs here. Article 74 empowers the president at any time to create any office to facilitate it, like the executive achieve its objectives. So whether this is the prime minister's office, which is a prime cabinet secretary, or even the chief administrative secretary, it's the court, I understand, stopped it, but I can tell you here that the court will lift that, because according to Article 74. The president, through Public Service Commission, can establish and abolish offices. That clause empowers the president to create office through the public service and abolish it. So what I think is that even in this case on the chief administrative secretaries, it will be vacated. As long as there was public participation, as long as it's competitively, recruitment is competitive, that the president will have its way. He will also have its way with the chief, the prime, what did you call the position?
The prime CS.
Yeah, he will have its way on that one too, because the law allows it.
You mentioned Article 74.
Through the Public Service Commission, you look at the functions of Public Service Commission.
No, why are you picking Article 74?
Oh, because that's the article that establishes the Public Service Commission. And therefore, when you go to the functions of the Public Service Commission...
The Constitution just said over there to Article 74.
Huh?
Does it say that?
We go to the functions of the Public Service Commission.
Article 74.
Yes, you have 70, you go to 73 and then 74.
What does it say?
Where is the Public Service Commission?
Yeah, you misquoted that.
Yes, I did. The Public Service Commission.
Let's hear from Ambrose Reda.
Debale, for me as an expert, I'm always shocked by people always quoting sections. We are talking to listeners who do not want to hear the sections. They just want you open it up. Like Professor has just subverted, has gone against the sub judice rule. Where a pending case in court, you say, no, they'll have to rule this way. This is the way they rule. You're not supposed to do
It's better by determination.
Yes, you leave it to the court, let them do. You can just express a view, but when a matter is sub judice, please be away from it. Now, this hula baloo about prior cabinet position, I really don't understand, even those who like that. Why? You understand? The Constitution limits the president to 22 cabinet positions. Minimum 14, 22. That has been complied with. As to the way the president names them, it's his discretion. We have had a position called special programs. Ordinarily, that is a very vague title, but you've seen it before. Working very well. If there's disaster here, go there. So, how it is called is left for the president. Number two, the power somebody wields depends on the president. He's been given power to give you designation, so he can take defense and put it under the minister in charge of GMOs. It is his discretion. You'll be saying, Your Excellency, how can GMO minister be in charge of defense? It's my discretion. So this thing of now going around and saying, we are seeing Prime Minister, that is just being like a stark record in the past.
Which I agree.
So,
maybe you also didn't get my question very well.
Yes.
I have no scruples with the name.
You
can call the super minister, you can call it whoever.
Yes.
The cabinet secretary without portfolio. We've had it even before.
Yes.
Right? But the question is, if he's that powerful, does also the requisite resources also expand for that particular ministry? If he's a super, and where is it predicated on law?
Now, I've just told you, Debal, that you look at the number. Are they 22? If the answer is yes, then it means all of them are cabinet secretaries.
Yes.
But now, the power you wield depends on your portfolio and how close you are to the president. You'll always see that the minister in charge of interior, very powerful. Not only is he powerful, he has more chase cars, he has more security, he has even aircrafts. Some ministers sometimes can borrow cars. The other day we saw when the deputy president under Constitution was outside, the president ignored him and said, you are out. We will give you a peace, administration police, to guard you, not record squad. But record squad was regarding Matiang'i. So there are things. It's not about money. Money will be equal done by the SRC. You want this, you want that. But there are ministers who have chase cars. They are the ones who give chase cars. They'll give themselves. They are the ones who allocate record squad. They'll allocate to themselves. Please, let's not go. It will not be on the exchequer. This will be gerrymandering, political gerrymandering, those who are close to the president, the total men and the total women, the Kirgit of President Ruto's tenure. It can be Mudavadi today. It may be it may be Debal. But
who's Kirgit?
Kirgit. We find out the total man, a diamond. Yes. So please. Okay. Let's not get Ulabalu about Mudavadi's position. It's okay. It is okay legally.
I think, Debal, first and foremost, we must salute our constitution. The fact that this is a discussion the president only nominates for the process to go ahead from that point. I think we are a country that is so advanced. Secondly, we have an issue that the president is the president of Kenya. He has a mandate and a contract with Kenyans to deliver what he promised, particularly on the manifesto that he gave, based on which Kenyans elected that office and the party. It is within his jurisdiction to have a team that is going to deliver what it takes for that to be done. He is in office now 30 days. He is expected within 100 days to have done so much. He has called on every person to play their role in opposition, to make sure that they watch over the government, make noise where they need to make noise. He has to deliver what must be delivered. All animals are not equal. You know about the animal kingdom. Yeah. If the president feels today that the expert who will help him to deliver the mandate is from the World Bank, you are not going to get a World Bank officer who you want and everything to be done and bring him and subject him to everything that is supposed to be there must be negotiation, and therefore there must be that difference. And therefore it's very clear out of what has been said. It's a role of his office to deliver what is constitutional, and clearly it is constitutional. I would only appeal for two things. Number one, our parliament needs to expedite the process. It's a must that this be done very fast. Time is flying away from the cheaper fertilizer that the Kenyans have received, away from empowering the judiciary, which is a good thing that has happened. We are yet to see a lot that is in the 100 days promise, which we must be able to support the president and do what he must do, and everybody playing their role. The second thing is that the parliament must be, and I very humbly request, that they be very objective, to play their role as they vet these officers, so that it is not an issue of just name calling or imaginations or what you have been told to do. There needs to be protection of the Kenyans in the officers that have been appointed in this process, and therefore they must do it very, very objectively. This is what we need to do, and we need to have the cabinet in place sooner than later, because life is about running systems. Otherwise, there will be so much. And then, as I finish on that point, Debal, let Kenyans be told at every stage the reason why things are being done. Kenyans are very understanding people. They just need to be told the reason why we did this is as follows. Even when we talk about the DPP and the matters, there must be a reason. I don't imagine that it was just drop this case, drop that case. We leave discussion for toxic engagements, which should not be. We need to understand, is it that there was no proof? Is it that there was no evidence, and hence this kind of thing? So we need to get all these things done in a manner that Kenyans understand why things are being done, not just getting them done. You wake up today, there is this. I think we are past that.
Yeah, and I agree with you. We are past that. I think Kenyans are very understanding, but lack of communication is the big issue. We need to know, first of all, even with the previous administration, what was the rhyme and reason of creating a cabinet secretary without portfolio?
But those are things, Debal.
So was it just for political experience?
Debal.
That's why, I don't know, when we have such an opportunity given to the executive, also they overplay their hands.
Debal, I think, and you have a very special role of getting us here. Let us take Kenyans on what we really feel that need to help them. If we start now looking at why was there a CS without portfolio...
But you are the one who's exactly just saying that we need a communication.
Yes, I hear you.
Kenyans will question, why do we have a CS without portfolio?
I give you that. So I give you that. And I agree with you totally. Communication is the main thing that we are lacking, and Kenyans want to hear.
All right. I want to say that the appointment of Raphael Tunju completely differs from what is happening here. What is happening here is more legal. I've never understood why nobody challenged the appointment of a Secretary General of our party as a cabinet minister, whether with the portfolio or without the portfolio, because there is a clear separation. If you are appointed today and you enter a party, you are supposed to resign from the party position so that you can now serve us as a civil servant. So I don't know how that appointment was allowed to run its course without anyone challenging it, because it was clearly not proper. So there's a lot of things that there's a clear difference between this. And what I was referring to is Article 233, not 77, which gives the executive through the public service to establish and abolish offices. And therefore, what is being done here is completely illegal, if you ask me.
Right. No, I didn't say that it was illegal, because if you had me right, I was asking if, of course, the president has the executive fiat, of which he has through the
yes, through that article.
Yes.
Sorry to return here. I think one thing that is lacking in our country is the management, proper management of political parties. And Kenyans do not get to know what it means. Do you know that every vote that a Kenyan voted for a party counts for funding? So that my party is receiving money now from government.
I think we'll be going off the rails.
What I'm saying, just a moment.
Because of interest of time.
No.
Let's shout.
Yes, and that life is about the real things. You see, let me finish my point. Just give me this. Let me finish. What I am saying is about public funds. Everywhere public funds get to must be checked, must be informed to the people, because political parties receive funds and therefore management, and that is where I think I was writing to Professor's word that Tuju was there because he was a Secretary General of a party, and therefore overlooking what funds are going to a party. That is valid, and according to them that time. Okay?
All right.
In one way or another. But again, it's about information and letting people know where their money is going, as opposed to not following and just leaving those trivialities that my learned friend will always call small issues.
You want to wind up with that issue?
It's a rather interesting one. First, I don't know whether it was about remuneration that you're talking about, or whether it was bringing a party agenda to the cabinet so that it could be processed for further maybe transmission to parliament. It was never quite clear.
Yeah. Or whether it is the overplaying of the hands with the executive order. Yes, so that through the Public Service Commission, you have that, wiggle room as the executive to do what you should do, but maybe to appear to the public that also you overstretched.
But the point is, he should have resigned.
Just a moment, Barak has not finished.
Yeah, so I think those people who are doing research, scholars, need to get back to that and find out what exactly that position was about. But finally, about this one of Prime Cabinet Secretary, my mind is quite clear about it, and I think it has been more than ably explained by the rest of my colleagues.
Mm-hmm. And of course, well, let me not head over there, because I think now that will be going off on a tangent as well.
No,
let's keep on with the track of the conversation.
We need not be afraid. Freedom has come.
Yes.
Okay, let me say it. So, and this is not, of course, with you being remotely connected with this particular figure and the party. You're speaking, as Barak. No strings attached.
Mudavadi and I go back to teenage years.
Yes.
The things that teenagers do together, we did together, and the things that adults do, we have done. In between, when we first met and now, we have agreed and disagreed, and going into the future, we will continue to agree.
All right.
He has a reason.
So this is not for the brother.
Of making sure that they have a very best relationship.
Yeah.
because the funds that are going to the party is the number of voters who voted for that party times 15 to 20 shillings. If they got 500,000
Barack now will welcome that discussion. Barack will welcome now that is a discussion now Barack wants to talk about.
That's true.
We can talk about it and talk also about our money which is still sitting with ODM.
This thing of today, your political parties fund, you are talking about the other day, you are talking about your motorbikes. Now it's the ANC, whatever.
No, but stop being hard on
Let me tell you, the point I'm saying is this.
Is worth $3 billion US. $3 million US. 30 million.
30 million.
And I told him I want to be a multi-billionaire in US dollars. So there is a difference. And the number of things that all of us can talk about for God's glory.
So before you interrupted me, I was saying the discussion about the Prime Cabinet.
Yes.
I have given you the legal position. It's not about his friendship and even if they grew up together.
No, I'm not saying this on a lighter note. Don't take it so seriously. No, we don't need to belabor the point.
So let Kenyans also not be misled that there's something wrong with that. Okay. Let them just know that some people here have small pocket parties that they are hoping will give them back. But we rebuke those ones.
Thank you. I received that. Time will tell, and I'm grateful that I have a small pocket party, as he would call it, that is of God's glory.
Was it in Kenya Kwanza or Azimio?
That is
no. You're not representing grow.
Yes. Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Here, small things grow.
Not in
Your
Kenya.
party today.
Parties not.
No.
The Kenyan parties don't grow.
But you should challenge him and tell him as a canon. Yeah.
Yes.
Even the scripture says, "Do not despise humble beginning."
Even the mustard seed.
That is if it is a seed. This part is not a seed. This part is in the pocket. It's not planted.
It depends where the seed is.
No, the seed must be in the right soil.
I have representation and
waiting for funds. Someone will not bring funds.
Thank you. But I'm surprised that he's our bishop and he can speak that kind of language.
We'll wind up with a word of prayer. And we'll make reconciliation after the show. Right. Let's just listen to what the Law Society of Kenya had to say in regard to Haji's, of course, dropping for some of the cases because of a lack of evidence, as it has been put in some, of course, media channels as well. But here is the chair, the president, I should say.
And we call upon the DPP to actually ensure that within the next 3 days, he is able to give explanations to the country. And in the event that those explanations then are not given, the Law Society will advise on the next course of action that it is going to take. We are therefore alarmed by the recent decisions by the DPP as they point to either two very disturbing scenarios. One, that the prosecutions were mounted for ulterior purposes whose end have been achieved or overtaken by events, or two, that the DPP has withdrawn the cases to aid an ulterior motive. We similarly call on the judiciary, and especially the magistrates handling the cases, to insist on the DPP providing credible and cogent reasons before allowing the discontinuation of the charges. How then tomorrow can we say that he is exercising the functions of his office independently and for the purposes for which the office has been set up? That should be the question.
Are you going to go after President Uhuru Kenyatta finishes his term?
I have said we are not talking about individuals. We'll deal with state capture and conflicts of interest.
We have agreed to tackle runaway corruption, including state capture.
We have had very serious discussion with the Kenya Airways. You know, Kenya Airways, their planes are always full, you know. They have the highest fares in this continent. yet they make losses because of state capture. Why there was a forex problem is because of state capture. You know, there was a lot of interest in banks where very senior people in government own certain banks.
They are now the state. Why should you blame the state again? Which state are you blaming? I think they are now the deep state, the deepest of the deepest.
The issue of state capture is still in the heart and the mind of the president. And I know in the fullness of time, because we still have 70 days, he will put in place a commission.
I believe we just came off elections, and I know the president is very much focused on ensuring.
Dula as well has captured that very well in today's Daily Nation. The DPP now reaching out to some of his legislators that have fallen into this particular hole called Chapter 6, right, to salvage them. And this is what the president of the Law Society of Kenya is talking about. Let me just begin with you, Barak Muluka, on that. When you saw those splashes yesterday on the front page, or the front pages of the dailies, what came to your mind?
What comes to my mind is what I'm seeing even today on the front pages, which is saying here that Kinoti lied over Judge Top DCI Corp confesses. You see, state capture is like when institutions of state are hijacked by individuals in high places, in government and out of government, to realize goals that have got nothing to do with that which the people are seeing. Such that President Uhuru Kenyatta's regime is going to need to be audited and to find out about his fidelity to the law and the rule of law. There are those very obvious things that he defied. He defied court orders. But it does appear, especially when you look at a situation where someone is arrested, taken to court, and the case does not begin. 1 year later, it has not begun. The prosecution is not ready. 2 years later, they are not ready. 3 years later, they are not ready. And some of those cases disappear like the river Wasongiro in the Lorian swamp. We don't even know what happens to them, whether they are vacated at any time or whether they just remain there to be resurrected. It is the sort of thing that has been done before in this country. In the year 1975, 2 members of parliament were jailed over issues that had been forgotten. One of them was Mark Muitaga, who was member of parliament for Nakuru town. And the other one was Peter Kibisu, who was member of parliament for Vihiga. And because they had refused to take a certain political position that the government of the day, President Jomo Kenyatta's government, wanted them to take. Afterwards, other people were also jailed. Jesse Gachago, who was member of parliament, I believe, for Kikuyu. Godfrey Muhuri Muchiri, who was member of parliament for Embakasi, out of being framed. Now we are in a context where you cannot bulldoze that kind of case that has no legs to stand on through the judiciary. And therefore, you can badger these people, you can harass them if they have not taken a certain position. You can release someone from jail to come and contest and win a political seat somewhere because they have now indicated that they are going to support you. So I think we are talking about cleaning up the mess. And when you are cleaning up the mess, the environment must look dirty. That is what comes to my mind.
Right. Professor Gitile, is there any rhyme or reason? Because, and I'd asked you this question even earlier in a different forum, why the DPP before the general election, of course, August the 9th, also put a halt on the prosecution, and they said, you know, we will not continue with the investigations because somehow this will jeopardize the candidacy of this legislators that are seeking elective the re-election of the elective seats at the end of the day. And he mentioned this is in comparison to the international best practice. And we're seeing it's barely the 2 months. These cases are being dropped. So was there no investigation that was carried on, prior to the general election, going with his statement? Is this not also politically instigated? And people are asking, why now? Why is it providentially for you to drop the cases now? We have the CSs who will be voted on Monday.
You're asking very pertinent questions. That's why I feel that we need to approach this thing with some degree of caution.
Yes.
We need to be guided by Article 10.
Allow me also just to break that news that is on our screens right now, that the information that is coming to hand right now is that Ida Odinga's bodyguard has been shot dead by assailants at Riyadh in Kisumu West Sub-County. Head of Security David Masaga confirms this. This is the breaking news that is filtering into our studios right now. Ida Odinga's bodyguard shot dead by assailants at Riyadh in Kisumu West Sub-County. Head of Security David Masaga has confirmed this. Of course, we shall give you more details as and when we get through them this morning. Again, Ida Odinga's bodyguard has been shot dead by assailants at Riyadh in Kisumu West Sub-County. Head of Security David Masaga has confirmed this. This is the information that is coming to hand right now. As soon as we get more of the details, we shall be relaying that to you as well.
Yes, I was saying that we need to be careful in the actions that we are taking and in evaluating these actions. One is perception in what the DPP does, because it's supposed to be a protected office. Perception is very important here. Now, when you look at Article 10, Article 10 and Article 232, one of the overarching requirement there is involvement of the public in policy, in making policy decisions. Now, when a case in court and it has to be withdrawn, I think it is beyond of the DPP to explain the gaps which he has found, because he's the same person who took the case to court. So he needs to explain to the public that what's new, which has come after the case was found, that is now exculpatory, okay? Which is clearly explains that this case is going nowhere, and therefore there is no point of proceeding, because you need to maintain confidence in the public, especially if you listen to the Deputy President very carefully, what he said about state capture. It's very real. We subsidize Kenyawis, but who are we subsidizing? The Kenyans who are renting planes to Kenyawis. We subsidize Kenya Power. But Kenya Power is a private company, partly private. So there is all this thing that we have done because the states belong to certain individuals. So there was complaint before we went to the election that some cases were cooked. And therefore, if the DPP then cooked those cases, because it's the one who took them to the judge, he ought to withdraw them and resign. He can't withdraw them and continue in the office because he was part of the cooking of transgressing the law by illegally accusing Kenyans who did no wrong. These people now can go to court and sue for their time wasted. Their name was mismatched unnecessarily because the DPP says that there was no case to begin with. But he is the same person who took these cases to the court. So what I'm saying is the demands of Article 10 on transparency, it becomes very important. Participation of the people in order for them to be telling us exactly what he knew, what has he found he knew. Otherwise, we are going now to perpetuate, to go back again and blame a government which has not even taken office for engineering. That's what those people talking there are saying, for engineering those withdrawals, because there is no explanation. And I want to agree with Muluka here very clearly, that because there was a clear disregard for the law by the former administration. Because even in zoning the deputy president from office and illegally bringing another person who didn't vote for when we voted, that was a violation of the law, because we expect the president to obey the law that he sought to protect. But we don't help matters when we don't come clear to the public why we are taking this action. You can take very good action, but without clear, you leave it now to interpretation. I would advise to avoid those misinterpretations, and when it is necessary, because that law is put there for a purpose, which gives the DPP power to withdraw a case. There's a reason for that. To uphold the dignity of that reason, the DPP must always explain. It doesn't have to be asked by the Law Society of Kenya.
Right.
And no one else.
Wakili, of course, member of the Law Society of Kenya, are you in agreement with what the president is saying?
Let me, first of all, unveil this to you. Not all cases fall in the same category. You don't have to have rocket science to see. Like the withdrawal of case for Aisha Jumwa is basically to never be cabinet, otherwise she would not. So that withdrawal, we can't say, oh, we didn't have this. That is one good reason why you say now, let's withdraw quite a number, but here the urgent question we have on the table is people like Aisha Jumwa has to be cabinet, and she has a case pending under circumstances which would have required her to step aside. Therefore, let's do that. I think as we are growing, our democracy must also be able to tell the truth and be truthful, even if you're waiting for goody-goody. If it doesn't come, Jehovah is sufficient. The next, I have been on record in this media house when they were doing the so-called Kamata, that made people, decent people like Professor Naituli here, not to sleep in their homes from Friday to Sunday. Somehow they visit cousins, relatives, they are in Meru, they are all over in Luland, in Seme, just because they wait on Friday, 3 p.m., then they surround your home. You have heard the Deputy President Gachagua saying he was even undressed. And I made noise. I said, this is wrong. You don't have to do that. These are decent people. Call them. Yeah, they will come. Now, that was bad because they were also adding drama to the fight against corruption. Remember, by the time a matter reaches the DPP, the DCI has collected statements, signed, witnesses, witness A, B, C, and then they say, we think we want to charge this fellow. Then it is taken to the DPP in his capacity as one of the finest lawyers. It's not taken as DPP. They say, now give it the legal eye. And they sit, a group of lawyers. Then they say, yeah, this evidence, this one. So when now they come out and say there was no evidence, either they are playing games in the new dispensation, or they were malicious earlier. And I know that in some earlier cases, they were malicious. That is why, and I said then, and I could say that, say, arrest them, bring everybody plus their house girls and their brothers. But when now the court puts their feet down, you will not have the evidence. That's why most of these cases cannot move. Not because of any problem, but because the witnesses, the evidence that they used were not enough then, and it was for drama. So they in coming at decision, having realized that they were also victims, they are saying, okay, where you did a abracadabra, please clean that. But in the process also, as the DPP is cleaning, they also had some people who need to be rescued. So either way, it is political gerrymandering, and for now, the President Uhuru regime will have the backlash, but I think the new administration will also create their own, because it's a system of administration. They weaponized prosecutions then, but now I think also ground is being laid for weaponizing it again. Because as it was used then, so is now. The Bible says nothing is new. As it has been, it will be. So DPP, think twice, because you have now undermined your name as a professional.
Totally.
And we need to lay hands on you and pray for you so that the King of Kings find a place to forgive you.
Let's hear from Dr. Green.
Thank you. First and foremost, let's separate the individuals from the offices and the politics. These are three very different issues. The individual in DPP Haji is a very honorable person, a son of the former PC Haji, brought up very well, respectable person, professional and all that. This we must separate from everything else. Two, we live in a country that is full of politics. Everything that you do is politicized, weaponized. There are people that are pained, Deba. People who have gone through things in the government that have been so shameful and painful and can never be allowed to happen in the decent world today. This is the reality. And therefore, we must honor and appreciate that that exists. And therefore, for Haji, it is a matter of understanding which country we are in and appreciate what is happening. There must be, as I said, he is honorable, there must be a reason why these cases are being dropped. In similar ways, there should be explained, it should be explained to the people in the best way possible. I cannot overdo what my colleagues have said. But more importantly, as a country, we need to start rethinking how we are doing things. You know, the people whose matters are being dropped are the people that have been elected by the Mwananchi. These are the people that you have given the president to appoint and to work with. No other, most of this. I did something, and please protect me from Wakili Mwenye Akili. Our party had an opportunity of having more than 500 people vying for the seat. We only added one little thing that was not added by any party in this country. We said we want you to give a letter from your church or mosque or community institution that you are vying on their behalf, not just you coming to say that you want a ticket. We dropped these people, we returned their monies, and we ended up with 31 member candidates. It was not about numbers, it's about integrity. We have to deal with matters from that level, where you are not just going to a political party because you hear that it is the winning party and you want to win. We chose not to get into any side and got into that after the elections. These are processes that this country need to deal with, as opposed to just falling for the big issue. The challenge that is with the DPP, as has been asked, is one simple one. Just explain Kenyans what happened. Okay. I think that is all. And once that is done, it's over. Kenyans will understand, and we will move as a country and will remain with whatever is deemed little or big, because that is in the eye of whoever is making such.
All right, time to wrap up. Thank you so much, Dr. Kalua. Let's just get your headline thoughts, Wakili, briefly, 30 seconds.
Thank you so much, fellow Kenyans. Get to work and get moving. There's nothing so bad about the GMOs. Separate the lies, the rumors, the projects from the reality. The tomatoes that you eat and admire and love, the GMOs. So please don't live under fear. God does not want you to live under fear. Do not be afraid. Have courage. That is what the King of Kings tells you. Get knowledge where you have doubts, but don't live in fear. These guys are just trying to manipulate your minds so that they use it for the next election. You have had some people seeking letters from churches to say you are contesting over them. There's no church will give a candidate that you are contesting on our behalf. We, as the people of God, will not allow that. You just contest on your own.
Okay, 30 seconds are done. Of course, Dr. will give a rejoinder there.
And ask him to join your party.
And ask him to join your party.
Let me say that we have a beautiful country. We need to protect our democracy. We need to We need to strictly follow the law. We need to follow the values in Article 10 and Article 232, and we will be fine.
Thank you. Barak.
Yes, I'm happy to see that, first of all, before I say that, I think I would like to condole with the family of the person who has just lost his life. This is very unfortunate, and I think it sends out wrong signals, especially at this moment. Let me not speculate beyond that, but I hope that that can be investigated and we really get to the root of what has happened. Beyond that, I'm happy to see that Mr. Odinga is back and is going to be trying to ensure that he's keeping this government on its toes. As that is being done, I would expect that they are going to flesh out issues of a fundamental nature that they interrogate, and that they will not come up with frivolous issues that then begin eroding their own credibility.
Thank you, Dr. Kalu.
I join my brother Maluka in sharing my heartfelt condolences to the departed security officer. And this brings out the importance of security in our country and what our security people go through. They become targets in many ways, and may God comfort his family. You know, behind that death, and why every death is so important for us as a country, is because there are children behind those. There is a wife behind, and we must really be very careful to cry with them during this time. But more importantly, I want to mention that we are a country that is blaming each other. We tend to imagine that the world is going to change just because we have a new administration. The situation of the wage bill and not only the wage bill but the debt of the country, you remember the big issue that was said the other day. We forget. We start blaming the chicken and fail to blame the mongoose. Why did the chicken go out to do all this? It is the parliament that allows loans to be borrowed, and therefore we need to be careful what leaders and hold them into account so that our country moves in the best way possible. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. I really do appreciate all of the tweet having you guys here on Fridays. I thought you were crossing over to GTAP. Yes. He was proffering a hand of extension to you. Thank you very much.